The iPhone 16e, a great upgrade in a lot of ways from the iPhone SE, but somehow it still manages to be a little bit disappointing. But by and large, I think the people that purchased this phone, the people that are going to be in the market for a phone like this, will largely be happy with the purchase. And if you're the type of person that hangs on to your iPhone for 3, 4, 5 years even, I think you're going to be happy with this one. 9to5Mac is sponsored by ESR, who provides super easy and budget-friendly premium protection for your iPhone 16e. It starts with ESR's Halo Lock Cyber Tough case, which gives you 23-foot military-grade drop protection and includes raised edge protection for the screen and camera. And even after such a tumble, the iPhone 16e is no worse for the wear. What's really cool is the built-in magnetic ring with super strong magnetic lock that enables reliable and seamless compatibility with a variety of MagSafe accessories. Want a sleeker and refined look? There's the ESR Halo Lock Classic Hybrid case. It offers 11-foot drop protection, raised edge protection, and offers the same strong MagSafe compatibility. And don't forget the ESR UltraFit Armorite Screen Protector, which provides a dead simple two-step application. It's how simple? Turn off your phone, clean the screen with a wet wipe, follow up with microfiber, open the applicator, then align the screen protector. Rest your iPhone face down, close the cover, and pull the pull tab. Open the cover and remove your iPhone, and then remove any bubbles. That's dust and bubble free for the ultimate screen protection against drops alongside powerful scratch resistance. Check the link in the description and get yours today. Special thanks to ESR for sponsoring 9to5Mac. The iPhone 16e features a 6.1-inch display that's more or less edge-to-edge. It also features a true-depth camera system with Face ID in tow. You have an all-aluminum perimeter with the various antenna bands on each side. You have an action button right above the two volume buttons. We'll talk about that a little bit later. On the bottom, you have the second speaker. You have your microphone right here. And of course, you have your USB Type-C port right here. On the right side, you have your side button. And on the rear, you have a frosted glass panel. In this case, white. There's also a black version. You have your 48 megapixel Fusion camera. And this thing is IP68 certified, so it's splash, water, and dust resistant. It can be submerged up to 6 meters for up to 30 minutes and still be okay. Importantly, the 16e also features an updated chassis, which makes the back panel easy to replace in case you break the glass. And that makes the repair a lot less expensive than some of the older iPhone devices. And speaking of repairs, the battery on the iPhone 16e is secured to the chassis using an electrically released adhesive. So after applying electricity to the identified points, it can more easily be removed and replaced. And the iPhone 16e, yes, it starts with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, both critical for Apple Intelligence support. So you can expect the iPhone 16e to last, sort of like this guy right here. This is the iPhone XR, which came out back in September of 2018 when you still had power adapters and you still had really nice getting started guides and SIM eject tools and even Apple stickers in the box. And it still supports the latest version of iOS 18 nearly 7 years after its release. So you can probably count on the 16e to last just as long. Now, the iPhone 16e lacks this right here, MagSafe. And MagSafe is more than just wireless charging with accessories. It features accessory identification NFC and a magnetometer, so it can know and identify when something's attached. And while the 16e supports wireless charging, it lacks MagSafe compatibility. That means you don't get the magnet array, you don't get the auto-aligning magnet, and you don't get the magnetometer or the accessory identification. Now, one workaround for the lack of magnets is just to use a magnetic case like this one from ESR, which happens to sponsor this video as well. In this case, it's actually pretty awesome because it features a super strong magnet array and that auto-aligning magnet. So your MagSafe compatible accessories will snap into place like that, and not just that, they will be super secure. But keep in mind that even when using the MagSafe compatible case, the phone itself is still not MagSafe compatible. So you don't get things like faster charging, you don't get the NFC identification, etc. But you do get support for standby mode. So that's actually pretty cool. So if you're using a MagSafe compatible case, you can connect to a wireless charger and you can still get standby mode support, which is pretty awesome. But one of the advantages of having native MagSafe compatibility is faster charging, and I'm going to show you how much faster you can charge an iPhone 16 or 16 Pro with the latest MagSafe charger in a 30-watt power adapter. So here you can see I'm connected, and I've coupled it with this little cable that lets me read the current wattage, and you can see it goes up to 25 watts, which is really fast, right? But the 16E supports only basic Qi wireless charging, which is supposed to cap at about 7.5 watts, but I was able to read 11 watts on this cable. But the point is, it's going to be more than 2 times slower to wireless charge using basic Qi charging versus MagSafe. I've been really happy with the battery life of the 16E thus far. And the battery life is owed to quite a few different things, starting with the A18 system on a chip, which is a second generation 3nm chip. And this is going to afford obviously better efficiency than the A15 in the iPhone SE. In fact, Apple claims in its marketing that it uses 30% less power than the A16 Bionic. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. The other big change is the C1 modem, Apple's first in-house designed cellular modem. And Apple notes that the 4nm baseband and the 7nm transceiver afford efficiency gains up to 25%. We'll talk more about the C1 modem a little bit later. But compared to the SE, there are other things that contribute to long battery life on the 16E, namely the OLED display, which is going to be more power efficient than the LCD display in the iPhone SE3. And then you have iOS 18 itself, which added quite a few new battery-related features. First of all, you have cycle count right within battery health. You have manufacturer date for the battery, first use date. But then it goes a little bit more in depth when you go to the charging section. Now you can set your charging limit from 80% all the way up to 100%. So just more granular capability there, which helps to extend the longevity of your battery based on how you charge. So for Apple Intelligence, the A18 includes an upgraded 16-core neural engine that's been optimized for generative AI. It also includes double the memory of the iPhone SE3 and 17% more system memory bandwidth. And it also doubles the amount of storage. So you get 128 gigabytes on the base model, which is great because Apple Intelligence takes up quite a bit of space. So to enable Apple Intelligence, you just go to Apple Intelligence in Siri under Settings and make sure the switch is enabled. Now activate Siri. And you know you're using Apple Intelligence when you have the Siri interface that wraps around the edge of the screen. What time is it in Chicago? So Siri works like you would expect. What's the humidity like there today? But it's nice because you can basically chain commands together like that. What's the traffic like there? And it's aware of the context. So it knows I'm talking about Chicago this entire time. What's the weather like this weekend there? Again, it knows that I'm talking about Chicago. When you double tap the bottom of the screen, that activates Type to Siri, so you can actually just use one of these suggested commands like that. Or you can go in and type in your command so you don't actually have to say anything like that. Pretty cool stuff there. Now, if you go back to settings, you're going to find under extensions ChatGPT. So when you enable that, this will allow you to interface with ChatGPT via Siri and some of the other AI assisted tools with Apple Intelligence. So let's go ahead and try it. What time is it? So for this command, it just uses regular Siri, but for a more advanced command, I have 2 eggs, 2 avocados, and a tomato. What can I make? Now it's going to go out to ChatGPT. So you can see there working with ChatGPT, and it'll present those results to you just like that. Give me a list of 5 video ideas for the new iPhone 16e. So again, using ChatGPT, there's all 5 of those video ideas, and I can actually copy those if I want to just by tapping the little copy button in the upper right-hand corner like that. Pretty handy. What album cover is this? You can also use ChatGPT to take a screenshot, and it will send that screenshot and identify what's on that screenshot, just like that. What is this? You can also do so from the camera interface. It'll send that photo to ChatGPT after it prompts you. What is this picture of? Same thing here. And it'll tell you it's a white iPhone. Now for the iPhone 16e, you don't have the camera control button like you do on the other iPhone 16 models. In camera control, when you hold that, that invokes visual intelligence. Now, unfortunately, like I said, there's no camera control button on the 16e, but there is the action button. And Apple's made it so that you can assign the action button, which by default switches between ringer silent mode. But if you go into settings action button, you can go ahead and configure visual intelligence for the action button just like that. So even without camera control, you can use visual intelligence to identify things using ChatGPT or using Google image reverse search like this. Pretty handy stuff there. Visual intelligence can also give you details about, for instance, a book using ChatGPT. Just tap that and it's asking and it tells you details about that. And then you can actually follow up with more questions. So how many chapters? And it'll go in and tell you the amount of chapters. Obviously you want to check your work just to verify accuracy, but nonetheless, it's a pretty cool feature. And again, you could do the reverse Google image search here, and it finds that it's AirPods 4. Now, one of the other key Apple Intelligence features is writing tools, and this is a tool set for your writing. And you can access this via things like notes and other applications as well. So here you can see I have a paragraph, and I can use this to quickly proofread that paragraph, and it'll suggest the fixes for you. It actually will make those fixes and show you each fix that it made. So you can see I fixed all the typos in there just like that in one fell swoop. Now you can also use it to add a different tone to your writing. So you can say, hey, make it a more friendly or more professional, more concise tone. And then you can also do things like add a summary. Or you can say, hey, just give me the key points. You can also use that to create a list or a table. Or you can describe how you want the text changed. So make it sound like a soap opera. And it'll go through there and really jazz things up. In the bustling world of tech, a new star emerges, the iPhone 16e, adorned with the coveted Apple Intelligence. Okay, so you can also access writing tools from the copy paste menu, just like that. You can access it right here from the quick type menu or the notes toolbar. Now, if you scroll all the way down, you'll find this compose option, and this allows you to describe what you want to compose. So a story about inventing a new gadget with a surprising twist, and ChatGPT does all the work for you. Creates a brand new story just like that, and you can refine it further using the suggestions below. You just tap that, say rewrite the story with a more comedic twist. Now, like I said, writing tools aren't limited to just notes. You can access those from anywhere, basically. So here in the Messages app, I can say, hey, make this message a little bit more friendly. Now, Image Wand is another feature that you'll find in the Notes app that's related to Apple Intelligence. So here, it's going to use the text that's on the screen to generate an image. So you can see all the parameters that it pulled out. And there you go. There is my image. And I can, of course, scroll through each one, find the one I want, and there you go. You can also use the Image Wand with images that you've sketched out. So I'm just going to circle that and then give it a little description. I'll just say ball and submit that. And there you go. It generates somewhat of a baseball there. Definitely not one of my favorite Apple Intelligence features. And the same can be said about image playgrounds right here. So this is cool. I mean, it allows you basically to use various parameters, some of them predefined parameters, to create images based on 3 different styles: animation, illustration, or sketch. And you could save those and send them to your friends or whatever the case may be. There's also Apple Intelligence in Mail. So that gives you things like priority messages, or you also get summaries for your messages. You can see right here that summary. And then if you tap summarize at the top, you get even more details in your summary there. And you also get quick replies that are Apple Intelligence related. So if you tap that, thanks for the info, it doesn't just put that in there, but it actually gives it a little bit more detail. Now, the same thing goes for the Messages app. You have quick replies there, but those are just canned replies. Now, if we go back to settings notifications, you're going to see 2 Apple Intelligence features: prioritize notifications. So this will show you priority notifications at the top of your notification center when enabled. And you can actually go in and choose which ones you want enabled or not. This is actually the iOS 18.4 beta, but that will be coming to users in the future. And summarized notifications is a beta feature that basically allows you to summarize groups of notifications for easy digestibility. Doesn't work perfectly, but Apple is working on refining these summarized notifications. So here you can see the priority notifications right here. How do you go about scheduling a message to be sent later on the iPhone? Apple Intelligence also allows you to ask how to do things on your iPhone, and it will give you the details just like that. But the big news with Apple Intelligence is the delay of the upgraded Siri, which has contextual understanding, on-screen awareness, and in-app actions. This is still in development. No one outside of Apple has even seen it working, and this has been a big point of controversy over the last week or so because Apple has yet to ship what is arguably the most important Apple Intelligence feature that was advertised on iPhone 16 press materials. Now, if you're coming from an iPhone SE 3 or iPhone SE 2 for that matter, the Super Retina XDR display is a massive upgrade. So this is an OLED screen, not an LCD screen. And as a result, it's going to have way better contrast ratio. And it's brighter, not only brighter in typical usage, but also for playing back HDR content, which looks amazing, right? It's not as bright as what you'll get on the iPhone 16 and 16 Pro, but like I said before, it is a massive, and I do mean massive upgrade if you're coming from an older device like the iPhone SE 3 or the iPhone SE 2 or anything that wasn't an OLED display. Now, of course, this is still a 60 Hz panel, just like the regular iPhone 16. You don't get the ProMotion display like you do on the iPhone 16 Pro lineup, but that's to be expected. But if this is your first time with an OLED screen on an iPhone, the contrast ratio and the brightness are probably going to blow you away. So like the iPhone 16, the iPhone 16e features the A18 system-on-a-chip with a 6-core CPU, featuring 2 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. And you can see the CPU performance differences between the iPhone 16e and older hardware. So Geekbench scores in both CPU and GPU benchmarks are pretty much what we would expect from an A18. Not quite as fast as the A18 that you get in the baseline iPhone 16, particularly when it comes to the GPU, because you have one less GPU core on the binned A18 in the iPhone 16e. But in reality, it, for most users, isn't going to make much of a difference. Games still play perfectly fine, and I was actually blown away by just how good NBA 2K looks like on a mobile device. It's kind of ridiculous. So if you're a gamer, I think the iPhone 16e will be perfectly fine, especially with that nice OLED screen. One thing you don't have though that the Pro devices have is support for ray tracing, but that goes without saying. You can also edit video perfectly fine and smooth here using LumaFusion. It works great. So the Apple C1 modem is quite the technical feat. A lot of people doubted whether Apple could actually pull this off because cellular modems are known to be insanely complex, and because Qualcomm has accumulated all of this technological history, and Apple, although they were able to poach some Qualcomm engineers, they were able to get the patents from Intel, Apple still needed to make it work, and they have. But what's really cool is the integration between the A18 and the C1. So the C1 can actually prioritize data based on the needs determined by the A18. For example, trying to send an iMessage in a congested area, well, it can prioritize data for the Messages app itself. Now, I was actually kind of surprised. Apple included a dual SIM here on the iPhone 16e. I wasn't totally expecting that with the C1, so needless to say, I was pleasantly surprised by that finding. But of course, 5G functionality there. You can see the dual SIM right there in the status bar. So I have the status signals for each line, one on top of the other. And if I open up Control Center, you can see more details as to the name of each carrier. So of course, I had to do a speed test with the iPhone 16e. So let's go ahead and try that. 5G. And the speeds here certainly won't blow you away, but that's actually par for the course for this location that I'm in right now. And to prove this, here's my iPhone 16 Pro. Of course, this has the Qualcomm modem. And you're going to see speeds that are roughly basically in the same ballpark as the C1. Now, another thing that the C1 has going for it is that it has built-in GPS. So that is going to allow you to navigate using Apple Maps or Google Maps. It also has built-in satellite functionality. So when you don't have a cellular signal and you're away from Wi-Fi, it can connect to a satellite. And the satellite connectivity allows you to do a variety of things. For instance, send and receive messages. You can even use Find My to actually update your location status. You have roadside assistance, you have emergency SOS. All these different things can be accomplished without a cellular signal, and that is built in to the C1 as well. So here you can see my connection assistant. I'm going to go ahead and connect to a satellite connection, and you can see it's connected. And if I tap the little status button there, you can see where the satellite is in relation to your phone. But this allows me, as you can see there, iMessages satellite to send messages or receive messages via satellite. And say you're in your car, you have an accident, and you're in an area with no cellular signal, well, you have roadside assistance via satellite, which is really helpful as well. Definitely handy for all you off-the-grid folks. One thing to mention, the iPhone 16e lacks ultra-wideband in either form. So you don't get millimeter wave 5G connectivity, and you don't get precision finding for things like AirTags and AirPods. With the release of the iPhone 16e and the discontinuation of the iPhone SE, Apple has finally eliminated all Lightning devices from its iPhone lineup. And that's a pretty big deal because almost all modern tech devices have switched over to USB-C now, including all the Macs, iPads, etc. And chances are you already have tons of USB-C cables laying around. You don't have to worry about these guys right here anymore. Lightning is finally dead. And now we just have this handy cable, which is nice and braided, by the way. Apple includes the braided cable in the package for the iPhone 16e. But the nice thing about it, it has the USB-C connections on both ends. So you can see that braided cable there. But this just makes it so much simpler. You don't have to carry around two types of cables. Now you just carry around your USB-C cables and you're good to go. They can work interchangeably with one another, which is really nice. So here it is connected to my iPhone 16e, which I should mention supports fast charging if you have a 20-watt adapter or higher. Of course, Apple doesn't include a power adapter in the box, so keep that in mind. But if you want to fast charge your iPhone 16e, you can do so. Here is a 20-watt adapter. All you do is plug that in to the opposite side of the cable, plug it into your wall, and then you'll get fast charging, which will charge your iPhone 16e up to 50% in just 30 minutes. So of course I wanted to test this out, so I used our USB-C cable that includes wattage figures. Let's plug that in, and I have it connected to the 20-watt adapter. Let's see how fast it charges. So you can see about 18 watts, which is pretty decent, right? Not a huge surprise there. But what if I used a charger that was, or power adapter, I should say, that's even bigger? So this is a 61-watt power adapter from my MacBook. Let's try that and see if there's any additional wattage provided. So 18, oh, it goes up to 20, 24, 25. That's pretty good. So yeah, I would say if you use a 30-watt adapter or higher, you'll be good to go. I wouldn't go for the 20-watt. I think I would go for the 30-watt adapter, and that's going to give you the maximum speed. Now, one of the negative things about the iPhone 16e is that it doesn't include support for video output via USB-C. So apparently there's no DisplayPort alt mode via USB-C like you have on the 16 and the 16 Pro. So here on the 16 Pro, you can see when you have the HDMI connection via USB-C, it recognizes that extended display. And you can see right here, Blackmagic Design HDMI. Now this is a bummer. When I plug in the same cable to the iPhone 16e, you get nothing because this device does not support video out via USB-C. In fact, if you go to settings and you go to, well, you can see the Ethernet is recognized, so it's recognizing the adapter, but if you go to display and brightness, you don't see that secondary display at all because it isn't compatible with external displays via USB-C. That's a pretty big bummer for me because I like using capture cards with my iPhones to capture footage directly to my Mac. Now, if you're coming from the iPhone SE, one of the biggest differences between it and the iPhone 16e is, of course, the inclusion of Face ID biometric authentication. And this allows you to unlock your phone to authenticate, use Apple Pay using just your face to unlock, as you can see right there. So this is a huge upgrade, obviously, from the iPhone SE, which only had a Touch ID sensor. It's going to make your phone feel faster because there's less friction involved. And like I said, it lets you unlock, perform payments, authenticate, etc. So it's just going to make using your iPhone feel that much faster because, as I mentioned, there's less friction involved. You just look at the device and it's ready to go. And one of my favorite things about the Face ID enabled iPhones, you have raise to wake. So all you literally do in one fell swoop, you just pick it up like that, hold it up, and it's ready to use. As you can see, it's unlocked just like that. Now, one of the biggest differences between the standalone iPhone 16 and the iPhone 16e is, of course, the camera system. The iPhone 16e features a single 48 megapixel camera system that you see right here. Granted, it's not the same sensor as in the iPhone 16. It actually features a smaller sensor with 2mm extra reach and low light performance that isn't quite as good. If you're coming from the iPhone SE, it is without a doubt a much better camera, a much more capable camera at that. And to be honest, I think it compares fairly well to the main camera on the baseline iPhone 16. And this is a fusion camera, so it lets you punch in at 2x at 12 megapixels whenever you need a little bit more reach on your shots. But to be honest, as an iPhone 16 Pro user, I did miss the 5x telephoto camera. Not that the 2x mode is bad on the iPhone 16e, but having a dedicated telephoto camera, as you can see from this image right here, just gives you a different look with the compression and everything. But this camera is still super capable. You can shoot 4K 60 videos, and it can capture photos in 48 megapixel, 24 megapixels, or 12 megapixel mode. So if you go into the format section, you can switch between HEVC and JPEG, but here you see photo capture. So there you can change the photo mode from 12 megapixels to 24 megapixels, which will give you less resolution than if you shoot a max 48 megapixel shot. But if you're shooting in low light or you're shooting in really high contrast scenarios, I would recommend the 24 megapixel. That's going to afford you more dynamic range. And if you turn resolution control on, that's going to allow you to quickly switch between the 48 megapixels, which is denoted by the max setting, or just the regular 12 or 24 megapixel, depending on the setting that you adjusted in resolution control. So I'll just take a few shots here. So there's one with the 48 megapixel max. So if we go and view the photos, you can view the EXIF data there. So you can see this is a 48 megapixel shot here, and this one is the 24 megapixel shot. And if you really like pixel peep, especially like I said, in high contrast scenarios, you're going to notice a bit more dynamic range in those 24 megapixel shots, at least from what I was able to tell. Personally, I tend to shoot most of my photos at 24 megapixels. To me, it just seems like the best of both worlds as far as highlights and shadows are concerned. But you can pull in a little bit more detail if you have plenty of light when shooting at the max setting. Now here is my iPhone 16 Pro versus the iPhone 16e, and you can see the 16e has a closer minimum focus distance here, whereas with the 16 Pro, I actually have to kind of pull back in order to get that minimum focus. However, the advantage of the 16 Pro or just the regular 16 is that you have true macro mode thanks to the ultra wide camera that isn't found on the 16e. So this will give you the type of macro shots that the iPhone 16e simply can't compete with. So that's the iPhone 16e top features and review. My final verdict is this: if you're upgrading from an older device, say an iPhone SE or even an iPhone 11 or iPhone 12, and especially anything older than that, this is a pretty easy device to recommend at $600. But there are some disappointments, namely the lack of MagSafe and the lack of ultra-wideband support for precision finding. Also, Apple Intelligence just isn't useful enough yet to warrant purchasing a new iPhone specifically for Apple Intelligence. Maybe in the future when the new Siri comes down the pipeline, then Apple Intelligence will be a lot more useful, but it's a little bit disappointing that this feature, which is the flagship Apple Intelligence feature, is still nowhere to be seen, and probably won't be available for the foreseeable future. And the 16E also has a pretty simple camera system, but I found the single wide-angle 48 megapixel fusion camera to be pretty good. From time to time, I did miss macro mode from the regular iPhone 16, and I also missed the telephoto lens from the iPhone 16 Pro. However, I think it's a pretty good compromise overall, and that smaller camera housing actually means more battery life, and the iPhone 16 has proven to be a battery life beast. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments section with your thoughts. Here's a final word from our sponsor. Special thanks to ESR for sponsoring 9to5Mac. The Halo Lock Cyber Tough case gives you 23-foot drop protection, raised edge protection, and super strong MagSafe compatibility, while the sleeker Halo Lock Classic Hybrid case offers 11-foot drop protection and the same strong MagSafe compatibility. But don't forget the UltraFit Armorite screen protector, with the super simple two-step application that protects your iPhone 16e display against drops and scratches. Click the link in the description to get yours today.